The secrets of continuous evolution. Mastering the laws of lifetime growth. Welcome to a journey into one of the most fundamental desires of the human spirit, the desire to grow. Whether we call it ambition, self-improvement, or a quest for fulfillment, everything we strive for ultimately boils down to a single concept: growth. It is the very source of our sense of accomplishment, and the engine that makes life feel meaningful. However, as many of us have experienced, there are times when we feel stuck. We might feel powerless against our circumstances, or perhaps we find ourselves looking backward more often than we look forward. Think of the character Rico from the film Napoleon Dynamite, constantly reliving his missed opportunities from high school. Or the faded movie star Norma Desmond from Sunset Boulevard, trapped in a shrine to her own golden age. We see it in the person struggling with addiction, focused only on the next fix, or the office worker who feels like a programmed machine, repeating the same dull day over and over. Many of us find ourselves at a plateau, searching for a spark of creativity, a new source of motivation, or the resources to take the next step. The truth is that most of us struggle with the challenges of personal development at various points in our lives. This is where the framework of the 10 laws of lifetime growth comes into play. These laws are not just rules, they are a system for checking your progress, ensuring you stay on track, and adjusting your course when needed. As the scholar Rosabeth Moss Cantor once noted, everything can look like a failure in the middle. Sometimes what we perceive as a setback is actually an essential part of the growing process. Successful entrepreneurs understand this deeply. They often face multiple failures before reaching their goals, using those experiences as the foundation for future success. But growth isn't just about navigating the hard times, it's also about how we handle success. When things are going well, it's easy to get distracted by money, praise, or comfort. These things can actually become traps that stall our progress. If the rewards of our work start to overshadow our purpose, our confidence, or our contribution, our capacity for continuous growth can be destroyed. By acting on these 10 laws, you gain greater control over your future and increase your personal freedom. While choosing growth isn't always the easiest path, the rewards are immense. When you make growth your primary goal, life begins to overflow with opportunities. Ultimately, the desire to grow is a love for life itself. It's the happiness of being born and the passion for exploring life to its fullest. The first and perhaps most foundational law is to always make your future bigger than your past. We often think of the past as something that defines us, but in reality, the past is gone. It serves us best as a library of experiences that we can reflect upon from a new perspective. These experiences, whether they were successes or failures, are simply the raw materials for building a better future. When we approach our past with a sense of acceptance, it fuels our desire for new experiences and stokes the fire of our determination. You have to realize that your future is an asset that belongs entirely to you. It hasn't happened yet, it exists only in your mind. This means its shape and size depend entirely on your actions today. Everyone wants a brighter, more successful future where they have more education, more confidence, more wealth, and deeper relationships. This potential is infinite, limited only by the boundaries of your imagination. To build a future that surpasses your past, you must first believe that it is possible, regardless of your current circumstances. Consider the story of Dan Schmidt, a highly successful businessman who seemingly had it all: wealth, reputation, and power. Yet, he refused to stop there. He began to look for what was next, specifically looking for things he had never prioritized before. After hearing a radio advertisement for funeral services, he was struck by a profound question: would his life just end in an urn? Beyond the money he would leave his family, what meaningful legacy could he leave the world? Dan began to shift his focus toward charity, environmental volunteering, and creating job opportunities for the unemployed. He realized that these contributions were his most valuable assets. His entire shift started with a simple question: if everything I've done up until now is just the beginning, what do I do next? This mindset turned his current success into a launch pad for tomorrow. But what if you aren't a wealthy businessman? What if your circumstances are dire? The law still applies. Take the story of Hilda, who grew up in extreme poverty in the 1950s. She was one of 8 children, and her parents couldn't afford to keep them in school. Her older siblings had to drop out to work. For a 16-year-old girl in that era, the prospect of a bright future seemed impossible. But Hilda was determined. She had a burning dream of becoming a teacher, which required a university degree her family couldn't provide. She made a courageous decision to leave home and move to the city to live at the YWCA. Through sheer hard work and academic excellence, she won scholarships, finished high school, and eventually graduated from university. She spent over 30 years standing at the front of a classroom, fulfilling the dream she had nurtured since childhood. The world is full of people like Hilda who rise above their circumstances because they have an unshakable belief in a better future. Whether it's a famous figure like Oprah Winfrey or an ordinary person whose story is never told, they all share a common turning point. The moment they decided to create a brighter future for themselves. This effort doesn't have to be a giant leap. Growth is often the result of many small, continuous steps. Even for those who are older or facing illness, the future is not measured in years, but in the quality of the very next moment. You can always choose to learn something new or contribute something small but useful to others. Look at Antonio Pijuan, who at 98 years old, after surviving civil wars and world wars, still had an enthusiastic attitude toward life. When he saw a television segment about a shoe museum he had never visited, he didn't lament that he was too old. He simply asked his granddaughter to take him there. At the end of the day, he told her he had learned something new. That is the essence of a future bigger than the past. Hilda's story took another turn later in life that illustrates the power of this law in the face of the ultimate challenge. At 59, she was diagnosed with terminal cancer and given only months to live. While devastated, she quickly regained her composure and decided to make her remaining time as meaningful as possible. Most people avoid the topic of death, but Hilda faced it head-on so she could live her final days with purpose. She became a role model for others, balancing hope with reality and accepting the future with courage. When she passed away, over 300 people attended her memorial, many of them strangers whose lives she had touched. Even in her final months, she was learning and teaching. On a trip to Thailand, she found herself in a remote village, teaching English words to local children while they taught her words in their native language. She showed that a meaningful future is a matter of perspective, not time. To practice this law, you can start by asking yourself, if everything I have done so far is just a beginning, what is my next step? Or ask yourself, if I were to look back 3 years from now, what would have had to happen for me to be happy with my progress? Setting specific goals can pull you out of the barriers of the past and point you toward a more successful future. If you struggle to find meaningful goals, try writing down 10 achievements from your past year and use them as a baseline to dream bigger for the next. The second law is to always make your learning greater than your experience. You may have a wealth of experience and past successes, but relying on them alone won't guarantee future growth. If experiences are just collected and not used, they are like scattered pieces of a puzzle that never form a picture. Intelligent people are those who can turn even the smallest event into a breakthrough in their thinking. If you view life as a school and every experience as a lesson, you will find that the learning you extract is far more valuable than the experience itself. To do this effectively, you must realize that every experience has 2 sides. A positive side that can boost your confidence, and a negative side that can hold you back. By identifying both, you can find new methods to maximize the positive and eliminate the negative. This transforms raw experience into a powerful resource for growth. Catherine, one of the authors, shares a story that perfectly illustrates how a small, painful experience can lead to a major life lesson. One evening, her father gave her a bag of food, a microwave, and a sink to take to her new home. She tried to carry all 3 items at once. As she reached her car, she realized the trunk was open. She tried to close it with one hand while balancing the heavy sink and microwave, but she misjudged her strength. The trunk slammed on her hand, trapping her fingers and causing her to drop the sink, which shattered and scratched her car. In that moment of pain and frustration, she remembered a friend's advice. It is better to carry one thing with 2 hands than 2 things with one hand. She realized she had a chronic habit of trying to do too many things at once. Her bruised finger became a constant reminder for a month to slow down and focus. She learned to say no and to coordinate her work more flexibly. Surprisingly, she found she actually got more done and felt less stressed because she wasn't constantly distracted. A small accident prevented a potentially much larger one, like a car crash caused by distracted driving. Sometimes, learning from experience can lead to an entirely new career path. Consider Marianne Ellert, whose childhood experience with her sister Marcia, who had cerebral palsy, shaped her entire life. While other families went on picnics, Marianne's family was busy caring for Marcia. Her parents felt guilty that they couldn't provide a more normal upbringing for their other children. Marianne, however, learned to be fiercely loyal. She learned how to manage her sister's seizures and how to help her communicate. She saw firsthand that these efforts weren't useless, even when they were stressful. Later in her professional life, after 20 years in banking, Marianne resigned in protest when her company ordered a massive layoff. She became a financial consultant, and as her parents aged, she began to research how to provide for Marcia's long-term care. She realized that many other families were facing the same terrifying questions. Using her unique blend of professional financial expertise and personal family experience, she created a program called Protected Tomorrows. This service provides a comprehensive support system for families with special needs children. While others might have been weighed down by the stress of a difficult childhood, Marianne used both the positive aspects, like her family's love, and the negative aspects, like the constant exhaustion, to create something deeply meaningful. She turned her experience into a unique and successful business. To practice this yourself, pick one experience that left a strong emotional impression on you. Write down the positive and negative aspects of it. Think about what you could do to improve the outcome if it happened again. And treat that insight as a lesson that strengthens your resolve to move forward. The 3rd law is to always make your contribution greater than your reward. This is a vital concept because as you become more successful, you will naturally receive more rewards, higher income, praise, reputation, and power. It is easy to make these rewards the primary goal of your life. However, if you do, they can become barriers to your growth. You might start resting on your laurels, or lose the focus needed to contribute even more. The only way to ensure continued success is to treat rewards as motivation to grow, not as the end goal. Instead of focusing on what you get, focus on how you can share your success and create new value for others. When you help those around you seize opportunities, you'll find that even greater rewards naturally come your way. Contribution connects you to the world and provides both spiritual and material support for your own development. Without it, you can become trapped in a cycle of selfish thinking. Contribution is also a way of learning. It helps you live more authentically and allows the insights of others to refresh your own knowledge. The priority must always be on creating value. One of the reasons Marianne Ellert was so successful was that she didn't worry about her commissions. She focused entirely on whether her services met the needs of her clients. Similarly, Lisa Pijuan Nomura, an artist and event organizer in Toronto, never started a project by worrying about ticket sales or cutting costs. She focused solely on how to provide the highest quality artistic experience for her audience. Because her quality was consistent, her audience grew, and she never lost money. This is a highly effective business secret that applies to any field. When you focus on the quality of your work, the rewards will often exceed your expectations. If you focus only on the reward, you may actually stifle your own creativity. Value is in what you create, not in what you receive. Sometimes a contribution starts with a personal need and grows into a massive public benefit. When Mickey and John Singer were looking for a school for their daughter Rebecca, who has autism, they found that existing options were either full or underfunded. They didn't just give up. They launched a campaign called A Drive for Rebecca, aiming to raise $10 million. They traveled across the United States, raising awareness about autism with the help of corporations, local donors, and even the police. Eventually, they raised enough to open the Reed Academy, a special needs school, and funded significant research into autism. What started as a search for a place for their daughter became a contribution that helped hundreds of other families. Their motto became, "Always be happy, no matter what you are doing." By 2004, they were even using a donated Maserati to visit businesses and hold 24-hour fundraisers. Their vision attracted massive investment of time and money because it was rooted in meaningful contribution. Another example of this shift from waiting to contributing is Gaynor Rigby. At 18, she moved from England to the United States with big dreams but ended up working as a nanny and then as a receptionist at a small strategic coaching firm. She had high ambitions but felt frustrated that the world wasn't helping her achieve them. She kept asking why people weren't noticing her hard work. One day, she heard a talk about how successful people create value before they think about rewards. She realized she had been sitting around waiting for opportunities to come to her, rather than acting on what she could do right then. This realization changed her life. She immediately decided to take better care of herself physically, and then turned her attention to her job. She began to look for ways to improve the company's processes and presented her plans to management. With their approval, she began to implement her ideas. Today, Gaynor is the director of sales and marketing for that same company, managing more people than any other department. She grew into a respected manager because she shifted her focus to meeting challenges and ensuring quality. To practice this, try to adopt a more generous attitude. Most people wait to receive before they give, thinking they deserve a reward first. This is a selfish attitude that can lead to being manipulated by others' expectations. A generous attitude allows you to focus on your contribution, which eventually brings rewards you don't even have to look for. Work for the sake of responsibility and the common good, and you will find your creative capacity expands. The fourth law is to always make your performance greater than your applause. In a world obsessed with fame and external validation, it's easy to become a praise junkie. But the true driver of growth is the work itself, not the recognition it receives. When you focus on your performance, on the craft, the skill, and the execution, you are building something solid within yourself. If you focus on the applause, your self-worth becomes dependent on the opinions of others, which are often fickle and unreliable. Great performers in any field focus on their training and their delivery. They know that the applause is just a byproduct. If the applause disappears, but the performance is still high, the performer still has their skill and their integrity. If the performance drops, no amount of applause can sustain them for long. This law encourages us to find internal benchmarks for success. Ask yourself, did I do my best today? Did I improve my skills? Did I meet my own standards? When your inner standards are higher than the world's expectations, you are on a path of limitless growth. The fifth law is to always make your gratitude greater than your success. Success can be dangerous because it can lead to arrogance, or a sense of entitlement. It can make us forget the people and circumstances that helped us get there. Gratitude is the antidote to this. It keeps us grounded and connected to others. It acknowledges that no one succeeds alone. When we are grateful, we are open to receiving more help and more opportunities. Gratitude also keeps our perspective healthy. It allows us to see the value in what we have, rather than constantly grasping for what we don't. A successful person who is ungrateful is often miserable, always fearing they will lose what they have or feeling that they still don't have enough. A person who practices deep gratitude, however, finds joy in the journey and builds stronger, more supportive relationships. This law tells us that the more successful we become, the more we need to practice being thankful. The sixth law is to always make your enjoyment greater than your effort. This might sound counterintuitive in a culture that prizes the grind and hard work above all else. But if your life is nothing but effort and struggle, you will eventually burn out. Growth should be sustainable and ideally enjoyable. This doesn't mean you avoid hard work, it means you find the flow within that work. It means aligning your work with your passions and strengths so that the effort doesn't feel like a burden. When you enjoy what you do, you naturally want to do more of it, and you do it better. Effort is a finite resource, but enjoyment is self-renewing. If you find yourself in a state of constant, joyless struggle, it's a sign that you might be on the wrong path, or using the wrong methods. This law encourages us to constantly refine our lives so that our play and our work become increasingly indistinguishable. The seventh law is to always make your cooperation greater than your self-interest. While individual effort is important, the greatest heights of growth are achieved through collaboration. In the modern world, we are all part of a complex web of interdependencies. If you focus only on your own interests, you limit yourself to your own narrow perspective and resources. When you cooperate, you tap into the skills, ideas, and energy of others. True cooperation isn't just about a fair trade, it's about creating something together that none of the participants could have created alone. This requires trust, communication, and a willingness to put the goals of the group above your own ego. By becoming a great cooperator, you become much more valuable to the world, and the world, in turn, provides you with more opportunities to grow. The eighth law is to always make your confidence greater than your comfort. Most people seek comfort, but comfort is where growth goes to die. Growth requires stepping into the unknown, taking risks, and facing challenges. This is inherently uncomfortable. To navigate this discomfort, you need confidence, not a false bravado, but a deep-seated trust in your ability to learn and adapt. Confidence is built by repeatedly stepping out of your comfort zone and succeeding, or even by failing and realizing that you survived and learned. If you prioritize comfort, your world stays small. If you prioritize confidence, you are willing to expand your boundaries continually. This law reminds us that feeling too comfortable is often a signal that it's time to find a new challenge. The ninth law is to always make your purpose greater than your money. Money is a powerful tool, and it is a necessary part of life and business. However, money is a terrible master. If money is your primary driver, your growth will be hollow and likely short-lived. Purpose, on the other hand, provides a deep and lasting source of motivation. It answers the question, why? Why are you working so hard? Who are you helping? What difference are you making? When you have a clear sense of purpose, you can weather financial ups and downs without losing your direction. Interestingly, those who are driven by a strong purpose often find that they are more creative and resilient, which frequently leads to greater financial success anyway. But the money remains the means, while the purpose remains the end. The 10th and final law is to always make your questions greater than your answers. In our youth, we are full of questions, but as we get older and gain more experience, we often start to think we have all the answers. This is a dangerous state of mind. When you think you have the answers, you stop looking for new information. You stop listening. You stop growing. A growth mindset is a questioning mindset. It's about staying curious, staying humble, and always being willing to say, I don't know. The best questions open up new horizons and challenge our existing assumptions. They lead us to deeper truths and more effective ways of being. By making your questions bigger than your answers, you ensure that you remain a lifelong learner, always ready for the next stage of your evolution. As we look at these 10 laws as a whole, we see a picture of a life that is constantly expanding. It is a life that values the future over the past, learning over mere experience, and contribution over reward. It's a life that finds its validation internally through performance, and maintains its soul through gratitude and purpose. It is a life that embraces the joy of the process and the power of cooperation, choosing confidence over the stagnation of comfort. And finally, it is a life that remains forever young through the power of curiosity and questioning. These laws are not a destination, but a way of traveling. They provide a compass for navigating the complexities of modern life and ensuring that no matter what happens, you are always moving forward. Think back to the stories we've discussed. Think of Hilda, who even in the face of death, was looking for a way to make her final months a bigger future. She didn't rely on her 30 years of teaching experience alone, she kept learning in a Thai village. She contributed her spirit and her courage to hundreds of others, making her contribution much greater than the time she had left. Or think of Gaynor Rigby, who stopped waiting for the applause of being noticed and started focusing on the performance of adding value to her company. She chose the confidence of proposing new ideas over the comfort of her receptionist desk. Her purpose, to help her company grow, became much bigger than her paycheck, and eventually, her rewards followed. Every one of us has the capacity to apply these laws starting today. It begins with a change in perspective. It begins with the decision that your best days are not behind you, but ahead of you. It begins with the realization that every mistake is a lesson, every success is a reason for gratitude, and every challenge is an opportunity to contribute. Growth is not reserved for the lucky or the exceptionally talented. It is a choice available to anyone willing to follow these principles. As you integrate these 10 laws into your daily life, you will find that you are not just getting older, you are getting bigger. Your world becomes larger, your relationships deeper, and your sense of fulfillment more profound. This is the promise of lifetime growth, that your future will always be bigger than your past. And your life will be a never-ending journey of discovery and contribution. The path of continuous growth is a commitment to yourself and to the world. It's a way of saying that your presence here matters and that you intend to make the most of every moment. By following these laws, you transform from a passive observer of your life into its active creator. You move from a state of being, finished, to a state of being, in progress, which is the most exciting and rewarding way to live. So, take these laws with you. Use them to check your progress when you feel stuck. Use them to stay grounded when you are successful. And most importantly, use them to keep your eyes fixed on the horizon, where a bigger, brighter, and more meaningful future is always waiting for you to build it. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step, but with these laws as your guide, that journey never truly has to end. You can keep growing, keep learning, and keep contributing for as long as you live. That is the true secret to a successful and happy life. It's not about reaching a final goal, it's about the person you become along the way. And when you dedicate yourself to lifetime growth, the person you become is someone who can truly change the world, one small contribution at a time. This is the essence of making your future bigger than your past. It's about the infinite potential of the human spirit to evolve, to adapt, and to soar. Embrace these laws, and let your journey of growth begin today. Every day is a new opportunity to learn, to give, and to expand. Your future is not a fixed destination, it is a landscape of possibility that you are shaping with every thought and action. By choosing growth, you are choosing to live life to its fullest, with an open heart and a curious mind. The 10 laws of lifetime growth are your roadmap to that expansive life. They are simple, yet profound, practical, yet inspiring. They are a gift you give to yourself, and through your growth, a gift you give to everyone around you. Let your life be a testament to the power of continuous evolution, and may your future always be your greatest masterpiece.